If you liked the fight last weekend between Michael Johnson and Clay Guida, well, strap in because this is another fight just like that at lightweight. We have King Bobby Green taking on Jim Miller. And Matt, really for these two guys, it's been an interesting last 5 fights as a sample size. Because for Jim Miller, you go back, you beat Jason Gonzalez. Well, we haven't really seen Jason Gonzalez since then, so we'll just take that one with a grain of salt. But Jim Miller finished him in a way that you would hope he would finish him, coming off a loss against Charles Oliveira before that. Then he submits Clay Guida in an all-timer of a minute. That might be the best minute we've seen in a long time. And I know that's a controversial thing to say, but it was amazing. He cracks Clay Guida, gets him in a guillotine. Patented Jim Miller move. Loses to Hot Sauce Scott Holtzman in a back-and-forth fight, but Scott Holtzman outboxes him in that one. Then he fights Roosevelt Roberts. Craig and Matt predicted that fight wrong, but Roosevelt Roberts looked good in that one. No, he didn't. No, Jim Miller looked really good in that one. Roosevelt Roberts had a bit of a slip, and Jim Miller did that veteran savvy thing where he just kind of ran in there, gets him down, gets him into an armbar, and finishes him. Then he takes on Vince Pichel. And Matt, it was really tough to tell what we were going to get out of Vince Pichel in that one. I want to say we were different on our picks. I think you had Miller and I had Pichel. That doesn't really matter. All of that to say, Pichel fought a very dangerous fight in that one. He kept going for takedowns. He had really good heavy top pressure. His boxing was on point in that fight. And that's really the way to beat Jim Miller is you got to really use your reach. You got to really wrestle heavy, and you can't give Jim Miller any openings. And that's easy to say, but it's really tough to do.
Okay, I agree with most of what you said. I don't think you should go out there and wrestle Jim Miller. That's really easy way to get tired yourself. Because if you're going to fight Jim Miller, you have to be able to defend the takedowns. And I always kind of look at that 4-fight losing streak that he went on a few years ago. He lost to Dustin Poirier, Anthony Pettis, Francisco Trinaldo, Dan Hooker. 3 of those 4 are top-level fighters, and Trinaldo, just crafty. Marcel Handuba, just one of the all-time greats.
Just great past 40.
He really is.
Fine wine.
The nice wins that he does have as of late, and again, Jim Miller's in that Thomas Almeida stage of his career when you do look at the losses, and it's like, well, of course he's going to lose to those guys. Other than Vince Pichel, I did think Jim Miller was going to be able to win, but of course he lost to Dan Hooker in 2018. Of course he lost to Charles Oliveira near the tail end of 2018. The Holtzman fight... That Holtzman fight is kind of the blueprint for how you beat Jim Miller. You have to have decent boxing yourself, you have to have good takedown defense, and that's really all you need at this stage. Now for Jim Miller, there was a point in his career when he had really good power on the feet. He was a top-ranked guy at 155, and then he got Lyme disease, and Father Time just kind of took over. I still get really excited for a Jim Miller fight, because still, entertainment-wise, you're going to have a really fun fight when you watch Jim Miller. Bobby Green is really interesting because Bobby Green honestly can do everything Scott Holtzman does. He's not this outlier where you look at what Bobby Green does and you're like, wow, no one else in the UFC can pull that off. But Bobby Green is very similar. You look at his losses. Okay, you lost Edson Barbosa. He gets wheel kicked twice in that fight, and I have no idea how he eats them, to be fair. But you lose to Barbosa, no biggie. You get knocked out by Poirier. Definitely no big deal there. That was a really nice knockout. You lose that split decision to Magomedov, and then he kind of retires, comes back, has that crazy fight with Lena Venata. And really from that point on, Bobby Green's like, I don't want to say a part-time fighter, but it does kind of feel like he is one. After every loss, he kind of says he's going to retire, and then 8 months later, you're like, oh shit, Bobby Green's fighting Drakkar Klose. He's had a weird career path, and that's the best way I can really sum up Bobby Green.
So with Bobby Green, again, let's focus on those losses. 2014, Barboza. 2016, Poirier. 2017, Rashid Magomedov. And you might go, well, Craig, who's Rashid Magomedov? He was on a tiny little win streak until Diego Ferreira beat him, and beat him pretty badly. He has that fight against Leno Venata. Good fight, close fight, what have you. Beats Eric Koch, but 2018 Eric Koch isn't like 2012 Eric Koch. We're talking different weight classes, different guy. Loses to Drakkar Klose, loses to Francisco
I thought
Trinaldo.
He beat Drakkar Klose, and that's going to be a hill I'll die on one day. I really thought he beat Drakkar Klose in that fight.
So 2018, 2019, not all that kind of Bobby Green. And again, you think, well, what's going to be the next chapter of Bobby Green? Well, he rings off a pretty good 2020. Beats Clay Guida, beats Lando Venata in the rematch, beats Alan Patrick soundly. And then he fights Thiago Moises, and that's a loss by decision on his record. Go back and watch that fight. I thought it was fishy when it happened.
It's a win in my heart.
So I went and I had a look over on MMA decisions, and that's where it really got interesting. 4 panelists on MMA decisions had it 29-28 Moises. 10 had it 29-28 Green. 1 had it 30-27 Green. That was Tristan Critchfield. Tristan, I saw the way that you scored some fights on the weekend over at Sherdog. I disagree with you, but I thought Bobby Green won that fight 29-28. I know Thiago Moises wrestled and had some success, but in terms of striking and damage, Bobby Green outlanded him. So really, Bobby Green could have won 4 fights last year, and I think all that being said and the controversial decision aside, that's why he gets a Jim Miller, because Jim Miller is still up there putting on competitive fights, and if Bobby Green gets a win there, well, then you just continue to have momentum and success. I also think that Bobby Green has the perfect training partner to emulate a Jim Miller in, oh boy, I hate to say this now, but Darren Caldwell. Darren Caldwell, really good wrestler, but primary wrestler, and he's just going to take you down and hold you down. Bobby Green has really good takedown defense. We've seen that in his fights, especially the Clay Guida fight, but he was able to go on the offensive against Alan Patrick, and against Lando Venata, his striking was on point. So 2020 for Bobby Green, very good. For Jim Miller, again, 2020 was a mixed bag. You lose to Scott Holtzman by decision. You beat Roosevelt Roberts by armbar, who's not really had a great run lately. And then you lose to Vince Pichel. So it's a difficult one for Jim Miller. I would think it's going to be tough to win a decision against Bobby Green.
If he did, okay, here's the way I look at this fight. If Jim Miller didn't lose to Vince Pichel, if he either just didn't fight on DC versus Stipe 3, or he did beat him, I think he would beat Bobby Green. But that one fight does change my opinion enough on this. Bobby Green can do everything Vince Pichel can do. He's just a far more dynamic striker. Can he go out there and wrestle? Yeah, he can. And Bobby Green, we did start to see it all the way back in the Eric Koch fight. And I say all the way back. This is still sort of the modern day Bobby Green, if you will. He will wrestle offensively if he isn't getting the best of the exchanges on the feet. Now, of course, Bobby Green is a really good boxer. He's got that classic shoulder roll that we all know and love him for. On the feet, Bobby Green should be able to tee off on Jim Miller, especially this version of Jim Miller. Doesn't really throw kicks. He will invest in that calf kick, though, and that's something that's really important, especially against Bobby Green, because Bobby Green, with his really wrestling heavy base, he is going to be heavy on that front leg, and we've seen what Jim Miller can do to really good boxers. He did it to Dustin Poirier. He did it, well, he started to do it to Dan Hooker until he ate a massive knee in the jaw, but still, Jim Miller has really good calf kicks, so just something to look out for if you are a big Bobby Green believer. I wouldn't put any money on this fight, because I do think Jim Miller has a few different areas he could win. All that being said, I like Bobby Green. You look at the guys who have beaten Jim Miller in the past, and other than those upper echelon guys, everyone else just fights him like Bobby Green is fully capable of. Jim Miller might be able to pull off a submission. That is probably his best path to victory, but I do really like Bobby Green, and probably by decision.
526 total votes on this one. 78% going with Bobby Green, 89% by decision. For the 22% that are going with Jim Miller, 45% think he's going to get the win by submission. If we have a look at the total odds map, Bobby Green open to minus 300 favorite. He's now minus 262. For Jim Miller, open to plus 250, now to plus 207. So there is money coming in on Jim Miller, but I'm going to go with Bobby Green in this one.
Yeah, I'm not putting any money on Jim Miller. Again, I think we laid it out. Guys who have really good boxing and decent takedown defense can beat this version of Jim Miller. Back in 2012, no, Jim Miller would chain wrestle them, eventually get on top, ground and pound them into oblivion, and choke them out. But it's 2021. Times have changed. I wish I could say Jim Miller was going to beat Bobby Green, but I don't think I can.
As long as Bobby Green can keep a nice output, should be able to get the win. And again, in that Moises fight, 26 total strikes, 33, and then 35. He kept going up. You like to see that out of a guy like Bobby Green. So hopefully he can do that in this one. The takedown defense, as you said, is pretty much always on point. 72% for his career against some very, very high-level names. We're both going with Bobby Green to get the win. And then we get to move closer and into our main card, Matt. And there's a lot of interesting fights. Julian Marquez, Marky Pitolo, Jimmy Rivera, Pedro Munoz, a rematch. Gaslam Heinisch, Barber Grasso. And in our main event for the welterweight title, we have Kamaru Usman defending against Gilbert Burns. Teammates taking a fight. So it should be a good one. Really looking forward to it. Keep locked in with Fight Night Picks, Matt. As we always say, let's get into it.